It took me a couple of years as a young retail option trader to get over that fact. And then I kind of extended my trades a little bit further out. And I found that it brought kind of a sense of ease to me where I wasn't like worrying about what the market's going to do.
Hello, Wealth Builders. You're listening to Wealth Building with Options. Here's your host, Dan Passarelli.
Hey, Wealth Building family. Welcome to episode 28. I never said most of the things I said. But before we jump in today, let's talk about how you can get the most out of the Wealth Building with Options community. Help grow the Wealth Building with Options community by subscribing to it in your favorite podcast app. And if you're already a listener, you can support the show with a paid subscription. When you do, you'll get video extra podcast episodes so you can get hands-on video training on things we talk about in the podcast. You'll also get subscriber-only posts where I drill down on a stock, event, or trading opportunity and share real, actionable ideas. You'll get all my covered call and cash secured put trades that I'm making in my real brokerage account. You'll get access to our monthly online Ask Me Anything webinar, and you'll get our unusual options activity alerts on options income trades and much, much more. And the best part is your paid subscription helps keep this show on the air. So I'd like to take a minute and thank our new paid subscribers. A very big thank you to Hani. Hani, thanks for joining. Awesome. Craig W. Thanks for joining, Craig. Jane. Jane is one of our new subscribers. And Grant J, Brian K, and Sarah M. To join this list of Wealth Building paid subscribers, just go to wealthbuildingpodcast.com and choose your subscription level. Having listened up to this point, you now have the keys in your hands to get behind the wheel and put some real horsepower into trading covered calls and cash secured puts. The way this is done is through methodology to trade them together as a complete system. This system is commonly called the wheel. The wheel is, in theory, a tried and true system. But for some, the tried and true is denied its due. And so, I like to quote what seems to be a Yogi Berra-ism here. In theory, there's no difference between theory and practice. But in practice, there is. And I don't even know how I come across these, but that guy's got a quote for everything, right? But some of the ones you find, like this one, may or may not actually be one of Yogi's original quotes. I was looking into this one because I wanted to make sure that, there isn't some copyright violation. And apparently that quote, in theory, there's no difference between theory and practice, but in practice there is. Apparently that might have been around before Yogi Berra said it or didn't say it. And so he's credited with also saying, I never said most of the things I said. So maybe he did say it and maybe he didn't. But either way, I'd say it's a truism. In theory, there is no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, there is. A lot of people fail to beat the market trading the wheel, despite the data that show that they should. Yet in practice, there do exist many individuals and professional investors too, who indeed make a great living or career out of using this strategy that is shown to beat the market. But that can only be true if a working methodology is tightly followed. And so we take the wheel from the on-ramp to the highway. In this episode, I'll share the classic way the wheel is traded, the stuff a decent textbook would cover, and then some more. And this moves us up a level. Once everyone is on the same page with the wheel, we're going to adjust the aperture of our attention to the nuances and often overlooked details of how the wheel can work in real life and, in practice, contribute greatly to any investor's wealth building strategy. Let's jump in. The wheel is an if-then series of steps traded cyclically that can loop and repeat itself over and over, growing wealth faster than the straight buy and hold strategy. It can begin with no position in inventory, initiating it with a cash secured put or a buy right, or it can start with a call overwritten on a stock in inventory. So that's a covered call. The conceptual establishing shot of this system that combines covered calls and cash secured puts is that collecting option premium, which is shown to be generally statistically overpriced, adds value to the overall investment strategy for the underlying issue. Secondarily, the process can potentially result in beneficially scalping stock by buying low. That's when lower strike puts are assigned and you buy the stock, and selling high when higher strike calls are assigned and you sell the stock at that higher strike. Let's explore initiating the wheel first by starting with no position, by starting with a cash secured put. We've explored the rationale for the cash secured put, but it's never just about that one trade. It's about trading serially as a system. What does the investor do after entering into the cash secured put position? Now let's take her for a spin. Imagine WXYZ stock is trading at $125 a share. An investor identifies the stock as a good candidate for a cash secured puts, or even a good candidate for a covered call, though he doesn't own the stock at this point. The investor sells the 14-day to expiration 120 strike put, so $5 out of the money, $5 strike below where the stock is trading. So the stock's at 125. The investor sells the 14-day to expiration 120 strike put at $1.70. Let's make the assumption for now that he holds the put all the way through expiration. Consider three possible outcomes at expiration. 1, the stock is above the strike and the put expires. 2, the stock is below the strike and the put is assigned. Or 3, the stock is exactly at the strike and it's unknown whether the put will be assigned or will expire. Just to be technically clear, it's possible for the stock to be above the strike and the put gets assigned, which is counterintuitive. I guess I should say it's counterlogical, but it can happen under some circumstances. Or the stock can be below the put strike, so the put is in the money and the put doesn't get assigned and thus expires, which would require the trader who's long it to fill out a contrary exercise form. But those situations, they're uncommon outcomes, and they would only happen under certain circumstances. Because they're possible and are therefore important, I figured I'd bring them up and discuss them, and we'll probably talk a lot about those in future podcast episodes. The stock closing right at the strike price, that is also an unlikely occurrence. And the reason that's unlikely is just because of pure plain old probability. Of any price in the entire world, the stock could be trading at exactly at that one strike price. You're going to tell me that's exactly where it's going to be trading, exactly at $120 a share? No way, right? It could, and sometimes it does, but it's unlikely. Usually it's going to be a penny or two away or a dollar or two away or more. Now, that situation where a stock is right at the strike price upon the closing bell ringing on expiration day, that is a situation called pin risk. And pin risk is just simply defined as the situation of a stock being right at the option strike and not knowing whether or not you'll get assigned. So let's just take all that sort of, I won't say caveating, like I don't want to make it sound like, I'm just being extra cautious for legal reasons or something, bringing all this up. I'm just bringing this stuff up because it is real. In the money options could not get assigned. Out of the money options could get assigned. You could have a stock close right at the strike price, but I'm just trying to simplify for this episode. This is the first time we're actually talking about the wheel proper, so I'm not trying to make it confusing. I'm trying to make it easy. So let's just think about it as a binary outcome, right? Stock's at 125, sold the 120 put at expiration. Either the put expires or the put gets assigned. So we have this sort of binomial tree kind of diagram started. And I am going to do a video extra for this episode so that all of our paid subscribers can visually see this, because it's going to really help a lot to visually see it. In fact, I'll probably just give some excerpts from the book that I'm writing, so you'll get a first glance of it before it even goes to the publisher. And that'll make it just a little easier to understand, but stay with me. Use your mind's eye to sort of visualize this. If you're driving or running, which is where I listen to most of my podcasts, doing one of those two things, don't close your eyes. That's a terrible idea. But still try and visualize it. So we have no position, stock's at 125. We sell the 120 put and binomial tree out to the right-hand side of that, I guess. We'll see the put is above the strike price and the put expires. And so what are we left with? We're left with no position, right? Or kind of arrow going down to the right. The put is in the money and we get assigned. And what do we have then? We have 100 shares of the stock. 100 shares per put that we were short. We'll just assume it's one for now. Okay. So after having sold the put at expiration, we end up with one of two positions. Put expires or put gets assigned. Either way, that $1.70 premium we collected, that's ours. We get to keep it. This cause and effect sort of situation, it's pretty straightforward. Now, what comes next as the system plays out? We're going to continue to keep it simple and make some assumptions that overlook some of the but ifs and pin risk and all that. So let's start out with the situation if the put expired. If the put expired, resulting in no position, well, then the investor can just simply repeat the action. Sell another cash secured put. The cash is still sitting in your account. In fact, you have more cash because you have that extra $170 that you got from selling the put originally at 170. What if the put was assigned? So the stock's lower. Now I own 100 shares at 120. I can think of it as 120 minus $1.70, right? Because I have that $1.70 of option premium that I sort of P&L against it in my mind. So I'm long the stock at, call it 118.30. Price doesn't matter. What do I do with those shares? Well, I can just simply sell a call to leg into a covered call. And again, I know I talked about legging on the show, but just to be clear, if this is your first episode, a leg is one component of a trade. Here with the covered call, there are two legs. Long the stock is one leg. Short the call is the other leg. And I can make that a verb, legging, by saying if I own the stock now and then later sell the call, I legged into this two-part trade, this covered call. Either way, if I sell the put because the old put expired, or I sold the call because I got assigned and now I have shares, either way, I get to collect another premium. Now that's two premiums. Maybe it was another $1.70. Probably not. It's probably like $1.50 or $1.85 or whatever it was. Stock's in a different place. The new option is going to have a different price associated with it, but that's fine. But if you're picturing this sort of as a diagram, then the put expires part, that just sort of loops around, just creates a little circle there and goes back to start. The puts assigned own 100 shares. Well, now I got another part of that little tree coming out that says I have 100 shares. Now I sell a covered call. So at this point, the investor will have sold two options, either two puts or a put and then a call, and therefore added two premiums to his or her account cash balance. He'll now have in inventory either another cash secured put or a covered call. As such, each of them has two permutations of outcomes. The option in either position can either expire or get assigned. So we're kind of going from a binomial situation, dual verse, if you will. Original put either expires or gets assigned to, oh, now I either have a new put or a covered call, and that new put can either expire or get assigned, and the call portion of the covered call can either expire or get assigned. But really, that's pretty intuitive, makes perfect sense, and it's kind of really the same thing either way, right? The put expiring just perpetuates itself again. It would just loop back to selling yet another cash secured put, get a third premium. And then like the first time around, if I had sold a put that second time and this time the put gets assigned, well, then I own shares and I just overwrite a call, leg into a covered call. Now, if after that first put was sold and then got assigned and I had 100 shares and then I sold a call, that's my second position. Well, if I get assigned on that call, well, now the 100 shares are gone. So I can just sell another put. Or if I skate and don't get assigned on that covered call, now I still have 100 shares and I sell another call. By now, the investor would have collected at least 3 premiums, selling the initial put, then selling either another put or a call, and then selling either another put or a call. It's possible the investor has taken in even more than 3 credits by now, because as you can probably just put together on your own without me pointing it out, this just kind of keeps going over and over and over again. It just repeats this wheel. It's more like a wheel that kind of has some spin-offs to it, like a gyroscope or something. What is a gyroscope? It's like a word I remember from being a kid, but I don't remember what it is. Hold on a second. Let me take a look here. Gyroscope. What is a gyroscope? Yeah, that's right. Okay, it is. So it's kind of like a gyroscope where it's like a couple of wheels all spinning around at the same time, except, well, each would only spin one at a time. I don't know. I totally digressed. Anyway, you get the idea. Now, instead of starting with the cash secured put, I could just start with a covered call. And those of you who are going to check out the video extra on this, I'll just show you. It's basically the same diagram, if you will, but just starts in a different place. Or if you want, we can redraw the diagram. I'll show it to you both ways, but either way, if I own stock and then sell a call, then hey, if the call gets assigned, stock's gone, sell a put to get it back. If I skate on the call, I keep the stock, sell another call, rinse, wash, repeat. Done. That's it. Just keeps going around and around and around. And look, this is a very, very common way to invest when it comes with options. I mean, we've talked about a lot of premium collecting stuff already, but mainly keeping it to covered call or cash secured put. But this is really the premise of the show. This is really the premise of the book that's going to come out. Is the wheel, is to do this as a system, possibly alternating between covered call, cash secured put, depending on what the stock does. That's why when I started this conversation, I described it as a if-then series of steps, because if I get a sign on this, then I sell this one. If I skate on this, then I get a sign on this one. If, then. And that's it. That's all there is to it. But as simple as this sounds, there is a lot of nuance to it. And that's why I felt it was so important to write this book that I'm writing and to do this podcast that I'm doing and to write all the stuff on Substack that I'm writing, because too many traders fail by trading the wheel. But you don't have to. You don't have to. To help talk about this, I want to bring on someone who's helped out hundreds, probably thousands of investors to use the wheel to juice their returns. He's a frequent guest and a good friend to the show. Please welcome John Kmiecik. Hi, John. Welcome back to Wealth Building with Options.
As always, a pleasure to be here, and you're picking a topic that's been really, really hot for us. We've been doing a lot of talking on the wheel strategy, so good timing.
Oh, man. It's always good timing for the wheel, isn't it?
It is. It is. I mean, I've never not been sold on it, but the more I look at it, do it, teach it, it's incredible. It really is. I mean, I have friends that don't know much about investing or options specifically. And I'm just like, you know what? I can help you do this really well. And again, whether they take me up on my offer to teach them, like, what we're known for doing, teaching people how to make money and control their risk, is up to them. But it's really sold me. Like I said, I've never wasn't sold on it, but more so hook, line, and sinker these days.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that all option strategies are one of those things where the more you learn about it, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more interested you are in it, the more you want to do it. I don't know.
No, that's true. Like a lot of things in life, right? So like I'll just tease them. I'll give them like, I know you guys don't understand options, but blah 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 blah, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. You'll have to follow up on that. I'm like, I'm not cheap though, so it's going to cost you a couple bottles of wine or a couple bottles of bourbon.
Sounds like a pretty fair trade to me.
Yeah, it does.
So when you teach the wheel to market taker mentoring student traders, what's the first thing you tell them about it?
Well, you might be surprised to hear this, but coming with my background on the emotional, psychological elements of trading is relax. This is something that you certainly might be rolling the premiums on a day-to-day basis, but this isn't a swing trade where you get all nervous and put this trade on and, oh my God, I got my bull call spread on. The stock is down $3 today. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I think it kind of eases them at the mind, because it's not a swing trade where they're getting so, I mean, I know I was. It took me a couple of years as a young retail option trader to get over that fact. And then I kind of extended, not doing the wheel back then, but I kind of extended my trades a little bit further out. And I found that it brought kind of a sense of ease to me, where I wasn't like worrying about what the market's going to do. First thing, I would wake up in the morning and see what the market's doing. Here, I'm not as concerned about it, because certainly we don't want the market to drop a ton on us, or our underlying to drop a ton, but there's something about it that really eases you into it. So I always tell them relax. And this is going to be something that you are absolutely going to love. That I can guarantee. So it's not one thing. It's really two things. Relax. You're absolutely going to love this. I can stake my life on it.
Yeah, that's something. I guess when I really started getting into the wheel proper, I started with covered calls first, I guess, and dabbled in cash secured puts after that. But when I really started getting into the wheel proper, like, I guess that's the thing is that patience, just that different way. I guess it's switching your mindset from trader to investor, I think.
Mm-hmm. That is a big factor. Yeah. And even on other training, I would always say, you know what? We're going to take you through on my one-on-one student traders, and we're going to take you through things, even if you're not guessing. And I hate to use the word guessing that Apple's going to go higher in a week. I promise you, I'm going to show you some things that you're going to hold on to for the rest of your life. And of course, the wheel strategy is one of them. And it's kind of interesting that yesterday I had a brand new one-on-one student. I had my first session with them. He's been doing the wheel strategy already. And I asked him, like, how'd you even find out about it? He's like, you know what? I kind of just put it two and two together. But I'll be honest with you, John, I really don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I know I'm generating premium and it looks pretty good. And I'm not going to fool myself. The market's been kind of moving higher here. So I know I can do better at this. But I was pretty impressed that, like, wow. I'm like, you didn't watch videos? You didn't watch Dan Passarelli showing this? He's like, honestly, I just kind of put two and two together and figured it out myself. So, but he's like, he humbled himself. He's like, I know I could do things better. And that's why I'm here. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is really one of the big things about the wheel is it's so simple. Sell a covered call, sell another one if you skate, sell a put if you get a sign, boom, boom, done. So easy, but you always learn more nuance. You always get this other extra little thing that you learn through trial and error over the years, or if you just want to save yourself years, have somebody show you how to do. And yeah, it's funny. Even the simplest things can have nuance to them.
Yeah. And you like said the nuance. And the other part of the nuance is getting back to my psychological aspect of trading is you have to do what you're comfortable with. Between letting options expire worthless or buying back 25% of what they were. So there's no perfect way. There might be a better way than other ways, but it also includes how a trader feels or investor feels himself about what he feels comfortable taking the premium off, buying back the short put and the covered call. So that's another factor too, which I don't try to necessarily steer someone like, this is my way, you better do it this way. I try to give them thoughts on it and pros and cons, but I also say, you know what, but it's your show. You have to feel comfortable doing this. That's really the most important part, which again, adheres to the relaxed part too.
And so with the wheel, you kind of have like two ways to profit, at least theoretically. One, obviously, collecting the premium. Sell the premium, you get that, it adds up over time. But then there's potentially scalping the stock, where you're selling a higher strike call, you get assigned, you sell high, and then you sell a lower strike put, and maybe end up buying it back, and you scalp a little bit out of there. Sometimes doesn't always work. So, which of those things would you say is more important?
Yeah, I mean, they both are, but without a doubt, it's the premium aspect of it. I'm just, like I said, we're doing in group coaching right now. I think I have like 6 or 7 of them. And we've already rolled since the beginning of August. We've already rolled Apple 5 times. It's incredible. And we weren't being aggressive on selling our cash secured puts, but I'm just kind of looking at the notes on the trade, and it just jumps out at me because I actually went over in class. I'm like, look at all this premium we brought in. And this was just Apple. Now looking at Amazon, Google, Microsoft, all those guys we've done as well. But it really is. I mean, honestly, like I said at the beginning of our talk here, it really was an eye opener for me. I didn't think that was like, you know what, that's something that's boring. I'm not even going to touch that. But it really has proven to myself. I'm just like, look at this premium, just adding it up. I'm just looking, oh, we sold this for $1.15. 3 days later, bought it back for 26 cents. So without a doubt, again, you can make arguments both ways for sure. But just seeing the light over the last couple of weeks for myself personally, it's definitely the premium aspect of it. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a total fan of the premium aspect because, I mean, stuff can go, I kind of want to say air quotes, wrong with the wheel. But I just feel like even when things go wrong, it really doesn't matter in the long run, especially with collecting the premiums. Like, well, Apple for me, oh, this is pretty funny. So on my Substack post for the paid subscribers, I mentioned on there that, okay, the stock went through, Apple stock went up through my covered call strike, and I'm not going to roll it. I'm just going to let it get assigned. Well, basically, because I thought that the rally was overdone. And today I rolled it anyway, but rolled it to in the money strike. So I'm still taking in some premium. So it's kind of like a half roll, but you can end up negative scalping the call premium like I did on this one, but all the premiums that I got before that made up for it. And the premiums that I'm going to get in the future make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas scalping the stock, it's kind of the same thing too, because more statistically, more often than not, you will end up buying low and selling high, but sometimes you don't. And that's okay too, because you just collect a couple premiums and it ends up making up for that negative scalp a lot of the times. Usually 2 to 3 premiums collected makes up for it. So I think focusing on collecting the premium is definitely the more important one.
Yeah. And we haven't been assigned once yet so far. So I know the market has kind of held its own, as the time we're doing this recording of this podcast, but it's incredible though. So I'm actually forcing a couple puts closer to where the underlying is trading just to see if we can get assigned. Because I want to see them for the new traders, new investors. I want to see them get a little bit taste of the assignment aspect. And so far we haven't had any luck with that. So we're just been collecting put premium like crazy here. It's been great. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that are most important when trading the wheel. So, to me, the most important thing is to keep it going, I guess, which is why I like that it's called the wheel, just because it puts into mind this perpetual motion machine that just keeps on turning over and over and over again, keeps selling premiums over and over. What would you say is the most important, or are some of the most important things to be successful in trading the wheel?
Well, for me, I would say that's in last place. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, it's really important because I've talked about, longer term time spreads, calendars and diagonals, what have you, poor man cover calls. And I always say, realistically, am I really going to be in this trade 6 months from now? Is there any reason to go out and buy that long call option 6 months from now? Am I really going to roll it 20 times before I get there? And the answer is probably not. And not because it's possibly couldn't get going, but just because we made enough money. But to your point, exactly, this is something that I'm not saying we're going to do this 27 years in a row until we drop dead at our computer, doing the wheel strategy on Apple. But it's certainly something, you're right, where, again, getting back to what I said about relaxing, because this isn't just a swing trade where you might be in and out in less than 5 days. It's something for the long haul. And to your point as well, then too, certainly the underlying can move a whole lot lower, and you're like, oh my God, this has moved a little lower. But generally, more times than not, you're going to make up that premium over time. And if you're picking solid underlyings that have the time to come back, and usually do on a regular basis, you just have to give it some time. So I think is the most important part. I agree with you 100%. And just knowing that should put a little bit mind at ease. I always said the shorter time period you trade as a trader investor, the more difficult it is to make money. If you're day trading on a 2-minute candles, you need discipline, discipline, discipline. Now here, this is trading, this is investing. You still need discipline, but there are a little kind of asterisks, so to speak, where we don't want people not managing trades, even the wheel strategy, when it's pretty simple on paper. But you can get a little away with a little leeway with this versus maybe a day trade or a swing trade for sure.
Yeah. I would say you don't want to overmanage these for sure. I mean, what I do, and I don't think I got to this yet on the podcast. I think I have gotten to the chapter in the book where I talk about this, but as soon as I put on a covered call or cash secured put, as soon as I get filled, first thing I do, put in a good till cancel order. If it's something super liquid like Apple or Amazon or SPY, it's for 3 cents and then done. If it's something less liquid, might be a nickel or maybe a dime if I sold it for a few bucks or more. And then sometimes I'll go back and I'll say, oh, okay, well, I can buy this back now for 15 cents and I can make this part of a roll. So I'm going to cancel that 3 cent bid. But I just like to leave it in there just in case, if it's a covered call, if the stock does end up going down a lot, and I can just buy it back in a couple of days and boom.
It's a smart move. And I know we talked about this several podcasts and back. And to me, I definitely, again, I got to go with the psychological stuff. You can't get me away from that. But I found how we talked about when people would just sell a cash secured put without thinking about the wheel strategy, they'd be a little bit, oh, well, I didn't really want the stock. It sounded good. But I think when you're doing the wheel strategy, you definitely go in with a different frame of mind that, as we talked about with covered calls, oh, the stock's going above my covered call. I'm losing on the call. I'm wishing my stock to go down, But I think without a doubt, in my experience with talking with investors, there's no doubt there's less apprehension about both of those. With the stock dropping too much below, no one's happy if it drops a fair amount below your cash secured put, whether it's a cash secured put or part of the wheel strategy. But without a doubt, I see people that are at ease. They don't bring that up to me about, like, I'm worried about it dropping too much, or if it blows by my short call strike, this is the worst thing that can happen. I think it puts their mind at a little bit ease. Honestly, really, it really is just a great investment strategy using options, though. Yeah, from a monetary and from a mental aspect, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it does keep you engaged. Investors, if you're doing too much with your investing, you're probably not doing a good job. There's the buy and hold strategy, which is not totally set it and forget it, but they call it buy and hold because you buy it and you hold it. You just got to wait. But when you have the calls that you're selling against that stock, or you're selling the put to try and get into that stock, you're constantly watching it, but you still have that long-term thought process, I guess, if you will. So yeah, it's kind of unique in that way where, I look at it every day, but I don't make changes every day.
No. Yeah. Like I said, we've been doing those like 7 stocks and the spiders as well. And it's not like we touch them every single day by any means and stuff. So it's really working out nicely. So again, we're not looking for easy strategies. We're hands off, but this kind of fits in the realm of where it is a little bit more hands off. And you know what? There's not a whole lot, unless the stock really goes down a lot. There's not a whole lot of bad things that can happen. And I think that puts a lot of investors at ease, to be honest with you.
Well, John, this was some great stuff. Thanks for sharing some of your thoughts with our audience and your wisdom. It just helps the entire community. Appreciate your time.
It's always a pleasure being here. If I could share my thoughts and my other trader investors' thoughts, because I always say, we're different as human beings, but as option traders, investors, there's so much to us that's kind of similar. And like I said, some of these points will probably hit home and like, you know what, I didn't even think about that. Or yes, I've been thinking about that as well. And it kind of just ties it all together. I think everyone makes feel a little bit better that they're part of the group and they're not the only ones out there that's feeling this way or having those same thoughts. Yeah, always great to be here. Thank you.
And that about wraps it up for this show. But before you go, I don't want you to miss a single episode. So please make sure you're subscribed to this show on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever it may be. And if you would be so kind as to leave a comment, I would really appreciate it, as the more comments that are left, the higher that service ranks us, and together we can grow wealth building with options, and we all benefit as a community. Until next time, invest excellently.
Options involve risk and are not suitable for all investors. Before buying or selling an option, read characteristics and risks of standardized options. A link is provided in the show notes. To learn more about your host, Dan Passarelli, please visit markettaker.com.